Hi, everyone. My name is Ray, or you might know me as Tiki with Ray, and today I am in the Wicker Bar, which
Thank you.
is Blaine's home bar,
Yes,
and you
indeed.
have a show. You have a show where you make cocktails. But there's so much more to this story than just that. And I want to start from the beginning and kind of explain to my audience who you are and why it's really a very big deal for me to have you on my show. So, long story short, is Blaine is a singer. You've been a singer in several punk rock bands throughout the course of your life,
Yes, I have.
but the main one that I know Blaine from is The Accused.
Yes.
And The Accused is a Seattle splatter rock band.
Splatter rock, yes, indeed.
I mean, think about it. Like, you guys literally created a genre of music that, to this day, I don't even know if anyone does what you do. What The Accused did.
We called it splatter rock because we didn't want to be. We didn't think that we were like the other crossover bands at the time because we were around that same time when DRI and
Oh
COC
yeah.
and Cryptic Slaughter and all that stuff. We were all part of that same class. But what we were doing was just a little bit different than what they were doing.
A lot different,
Yeah.
Blaine. And we're in Seattle, Washington right now, and I mean this when I say this. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, born and raised from the East Coast, and I remember getting into The Accused back in like the '80s, and it was kind of like a life changing band for me because I'm like, oh my god, I've never heard anything like this. I've seen footage, like I've seen back then it was like bootleg videotape
Yeah.
footage of you guys. Most explosive band I've ever seen. You're in the air more from jumping than you are on the ground. And I actually had a band. I had a hardcore band in the early '90s, and I remember thinking like, this is what I want to do. I want to write music like this. And I failed miserably, but the point is like your band and you were such an influence on me that it put Seattle on the map for me. And I'm here. I've lived here for 18 years.
Yeah.
So it's a big honor to have you on my show.
Well, thank you.
And there's so much I want to start with. So before you were in The Accused, was the first band you had was the Farts?
Yeah, the Farts. Yeah, we started in the tail end of 1980. The Farts. It was me. It was Steve Hoffman, aka Steve Fart. Loud Fart. He doesn't. Not a knock on Loud. He doesn't like people to use his real name anymore. So he's Loud. And actually today is Loud's birthday. He's
really?
66 years old. And Tommy Hansen was a guitar player. And we started the Farts. Kind of modeled ourselves after another band that was in Seattle called Soldier, and they were kind of like friends of ours. It's like, well, Soldier
Yeah.
put out their own 7-inch. We're gonna put out our own 7-inch. So we put out our own 7-inch, and we got a show with the Dead Kennedys. Jello Biafra, liked what we were doing. He really liked Steve's political lyrics, and some of the collages that he did really resonated with Jello Biafra.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, actually, now that I think about it, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we
That
ended up
total collage art.
Yeah, so we ended up. Tom Hansen was out of the band. We got Paul Soldier, who was in the band. Soldier came to play guitar, and we went and we did some shows with the Dead Kennedys down in San Francisco. We got to do that. Got to do that a couple of different times.
What was it like? What was the punk scene like back in Seattle? Because you said 1980.
Yeah.
We're talking like the early '80s, and this is way before the whole grunge thing happened.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, paint me a picture, Blaine. What was Seattle like back in like 1980, 1981?
Or 1978.
Yeah. What was it like back
1970.
then?
I mean, it was like any big city back then. It was totally different than it is now. I mean, things were a lot grittier.
Yeah.
The downtown areas were a little bit neglected. People, had moved away from downtown.
Yeah.
Like downtown Seattle. I mean, it used to close up, 7 o'clock at night. I mean, there's nothing's going on in downtown Seattle.
Where were the shows at? I mean, like, were they in Pioneer Square, or were they like all throughout the city?
They were all throughout the city. The Showbox was kind of like a big catalyst that a lot of stuff happened for a lot of people. The Farts, we got to practice there at the Showbox. We got on a bunch of the big shows that went through there.
How did you get into The Accused?
Well, the Accused, they were friends with another local band called the Rejectors.
The Rejectors, okay.
And they were some younger guys. And back then when you were a few years older, it kind of made a difference whether or not you were 16 or 17 or 18 or if you were 20. You know what I mean? It's kind of these days, in many respects, those age doesn't mean what it did back then.
Yeah.
So, but and we were friends with the Rejectors, so I knew the guys in The Accused. I'd skateboarded around with them and smoke weed or whatever, and they showed up at the officially the last show that the Farts played, which was down in Portland, and this was in November of 1982.
Yeah.
We were playing. That was the one show we played 2 live shows as the Farts with Duff McKagan on the drums, and that was.
Oh, he was the drummer.
He was the drummer. Yeah. So he was the drummer. We played in Portland at a club called the Met. We played with Poison Idea, and the Rejectors, and then this band, The Accused. They showed up and wanted to get on the bill. Okay. So they got on the bill, and from then on, I knew him, and I was at a GBH show at the Mountaineers Hall with the Fastbacks opening, and it was in April of 1984.
Yeah,
and I can't remember if it was I think it was Dana and Chewy came up and asked if I wanted to be in the band. It's like, yeah, okay, for sure.
When I first moved here, the Farts got back together.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But it was a different lineup because now you had Alex. Alex was in the band now.
Well, we started off with Paul Soldier.
Okay.
But he wasn't,
And Alex was in The Accused.
Alex was in The Accused.
He did Grunt Truck, I think, at one point,
too. He was in Grunt Truck, and at that point in time, he was in a band called Hot Rod Lunatics.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Which was actually, Hot Rod Lunatics was Josh Cinder, who was drummer for The Accused.
Was Josh in that band?
He was the singer of Hot Rod Lunatics. And Chris Godey, actually, who plays drums with us right now, he was the drummer. And actually, Steve McVeigh, who plays bass for Toe Tag, he was the bass player. Yeah, for Hot Rod Lunatics.
Well, I remember you started Toe Tag.
Yeah.
There was a point where The Accused kind of got back together for a little bit. You put out an album.
Yeah, we got together for a minute, and then that stopped being, and then we started Toe Tag.
You started Toe Tag. Alex came with you, and
so did Steve Nelson. So it was pretty much it was the 3 of us from The Accused, and we did Toe Tag.
And then you did The Accused AD, which is kind of like that's kind of a common thing now.
Yeah.
Did you think, like, when you were a kid, back in the early 80s, that you'd be still singing, still doing music to this day?
No. And it's kind of all gone full circle, because there was a point in time where it was like a job. Yeah. There was money that was involved, and you had to do it. I mean, now we do it for fun. I mean, I do the Wicker Bar. I mean, it's for fun. It's kind of almost goes back to when you're a kid, where you do it because you like to do it.
Well, the thing is getting up to where I want to get to here in this story of yours. I remember I was living in Seattle. I'm here for a couple years now. And then I hear from the grapevine, it's like, Blaine from The Accused has a burger joint, a hamburger joint, called Zippy's. And I'm like, really? Yeah, you should go check it out. It's really good. I'm like, yeah, I guess I have to. And I'll never forget, I went to, like, the original location of Zippy's. Mm-hmm. Which was like a small hole,
right.
Like
1513 Southwest Holden, just about a mile away from here.
And I remember I walked in. The place was small. I mean, like the sitting room was like the size of this bar.
We had 12 bar stools inside.
And I walked in, and I'm like, holy shit! There's Blaine. There he is, like, making the fucking burgers. I took a picture. I still have that picture.
Oh yeah.
And I sent it to like my friends back, and I'm like, holy shit, it's Blaine. And you do make the best burgers in the city.
Yeah.
And I'm not being biased. I really mean that.
Well, thank you.
So this is the thing I'm realizing too as I'm getting older, is that we all have, like, different chapters in our lives.
Yeah, totally.
You know, where it's sort of like, well, for this chunk of time I was doing this, and then for this chunk of time I was doing that. Like, for example, like, I'm doing this, like, this whole Tiki thing.
Yeah.
And, blogging, and I'm doing YouTube shows and stuff like that. But like I had to. But there was a point in time where I was like playing like punk rock and like and played guitar and did that. You know,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't even know it. You wouldn't even know it. There was a point in time where I was into cycling and I was actually fit. You know, and then well, tiki drinks. What can I say?
Right.
But the latest chapter in your life, Blaine, is this: the Wicker Bar.
Yeah.
It's a YouTube show.
Yeah.
And it's mostly based around cocktails. Can you talk about it?
It kind of started like, at the beginning of that, when the pandemic started. We all got locked away. No, when the pandemic started, and so I started. I just did a couple of like stupid little videos, and it's like, and then we started making some cocktails, and then we were looking on the internet, and I was watching what other people were doing,
Yeah.
and I was really drawn towards this whole all of these prohibition drinks. So I'm start pulling up all these recipes on the internet, and I'm looking on the internet, and then I'm thinking it's like, we have a bunch of cocktail books, and I went to our bookshelf, and we've got we had the Savoy. I mean, we had like 12 cocktail books. It's like, oh my God, I've got this. This is like right here. So I started, buying that's when you get into the vermouth and the Luxardo, and that's the gin, and the rum. A lot of because they didn't use a lot of vodka back then. I mean, it wasn't really something that people had, I guess, for whatever reason. Yeah, and then I just got into doing all those prohibition drinks. Obviously, I spent a few $1,000s on my back bar, trying to get everything that I needed.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that I needed for those drinks. And that we started off where we were doing Facebook Live videos, just up in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And
I remember seeing those, and I'm like, well, and like I had absolute faith in like, well, I know whatever he's going to make is going to be good.
Yeah.
Because I've had his burgers before.
Yeah.
But then you start working on the cocktails too.
Yeah, yeah. Then we just started. Then it's like, well, I've got this space in the basement. Yeah. I mean, I know.
And I've seen, and then I'd watch your videos. I'm like, you start throwing some tiki cocktails in there.
Yeah.
And what I like about your show, as far as coming from the tiki aspect of it, is that there's the classics, right? There's the classic tiki drinks. The Mai-Tai, the Zombie, the Navy Grog, Three Dots and Ash, you know the whole line. But what I like is that you're coming up with drinks and making drinks that I thought I was a tiki aficionado, but we're drinking what's this called?
The Tortuga.
The Tortuga, which was a turtle. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I've never had this before. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And so you're making drinks and making cocktails that I've never even heard of before. So I think your show is very informative, and I'm glad that you're doing it. And where do you think you're gonna go with this show?
I'm doing a cocktail book. I gathered 25 artists, and I came up with cocktails that kind of had like a spooky or evil name.
Did you?
Yeah, and each artist they either did 1 or 2 recipes per page with some art. So I've got your zombies and your corpse survivors, your white witch, the crow.
No way. So
I'll show it to you.
You're already going on to the next level.
Yeah. And
how awesome would that be, Blaine? It's like going into this where all of a sudden this is a whole new chapter.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were writing a book.
Well, I didn't really see. That's the thing with this book. I didn't really, it's kind of like this. I one of the things that I believe in is the collective we. And I believe that I have there's this stuff that I can do, and there's this stuff that you can do, and this person can do that. But if we all get together, then we can do this one bigger thing that on our own we can't do.
The thing that what I love about having you on the show, and thank you very much for being on the show, Blaine, is the fact that it's just sort of that there is different aspects to people besides one thing. Hey, this guy's more than just a singer from a band. This guy's doing this shit. He's doing that. He's doing that. He's the guy who owns the best hamburger joint in Seattle. He's the guy who just made us. The Tortuga?
The Tortuga.
The Tortuga?
Right.
I'll tell you what. Blaine, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Ray.
This means more to me than you can imagine.
All right. Well, I appreciate it.
So you may be asking yourself, how can I join the Tiki Goth Club? Well, there is no membership. There are no fees. But I have shirts for sale. They're $20 a piece, $5 shipping and handling. If you're interested, go to my website, tikiwithray.com. There's a prompt that says buy a shirt. Follow that, and then that's how you can get your own. Want to impress your goth friends the next time you come over to your tiki bar? Serve them Mai-Tais out of my Tiki Goth Club glasses. They're only $15. Head over to tikiwithray.com to buy your own.